I hope that you are all having a great day somewhere out there in the world. Today we're going to talk about how to talk about yourself. But I'm going to do it by talking about myself. I hope that works for you. I hope you don't get too bored listening to me talk about myself. What I'd like to do is Todd will be posting a link in the chat where you can ask questions about me. If I'm comfortable answering that question, just checking my live feed, looks like it's working good. If I'm comfortable answering that question, I will answer it about me, and then I will give you some examples about how to ask that question politely in English and how to answer it if you were answering it. So hopefully that makes some sense. Again, I'm Bob the Canadian. You are watching a lesson on how to talk about yourself. This lesson kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Oh yeah, there's a fly, by the way. He's been here all morning. I think this is the same fly that helped teach the other lessons. If you watch my Saturday night lessons, there's usually a kitten, and I guess when I do them from my classroom, by the way, I'm not sure if you've seen my classroom, I guess I get to have a couple of flies with me. Anyways, let's find the first question. What I will do is I will copy the question from my bank of questions or from you, and I will paste them into the chat so that you can read them. So the first question is from Jake. This question actually was asked 7 times overnight. So in my Google spreadsheet, I have the question, how old are you, 7 times. So I will answer it once, and I'm not going to answer it truthfully. I am almost 50 years old. For those of you that have watched my other live lessons, whenever this question comes up, I always say, I am almost 50 years old. You could also say, I'm in my late 50s. If you think that when I say almost 50, that I will be 50 soon, it'll still be a year or two. I'm being mysterious about it. Anyways, when you ask someone in English how old they are, you need to be careful. We don't usually ask someone how old they are unless we know them well and we are comfortable talking to them. It's kind of a private question. Some people are very open about their age. They'll just say, I'm 38 years old. But for some people, they don't like to talk about how old they are. When you're talking to kids, like nephews or nieces, you can say, hey, how old are you now? Notice I added the word now at the end of the question, and they'll say, oh, I'm 11, or I'm 12, or I'm 15. So that's how you ask the question, how old are you? If it's someone's birthday and you've forgotten how old they are, you could say, how old are you now? And then you answer by saying, I am. And I know this is different than some other languages. In English, you would say, I am 40 years old. By the way, I'm older than 40. I know in other languages, you use the equivalent of the verb have, but in English, we say I am. Some of you make that mistake sometimes where you say I have and then the number of years, because in your own language, that's how you do it. Let me see here. Let's find the next question. This is from Marinya, and let me paste it here. So Marinya Mudrak says, I've always been amazed by the tolerance and freedom in your country. I think the reason for it lies in your history. Tell us about your ancestry, please. So there's kind of 2 questions there, or a statement and a question. First of all, Canada is, in my opinion, a really nice place to live, but we do have crime. There are things about Canada that aren't nice as well. It is not a perfect country by any stretch of the imagination. Do you know that? Stretch of the imagination. But it is, in my opinion, a nice country to live in. I don't know why that is. I think part of it is because generally people have jobs and generally people have money. Not a lot of money, but people have jobs and they're able to support themselves and their families, and I think that helps. We do have problems in Canada, though, and we are working on them. So we're not a perfect country. Second part of it was tell us about your ancestry. So my ancestry in particular is interesting because my grandparents, both on my mom's side and my dad's side, came from Holland. They came from the Netherlands. So I am someone who was born in Canada, but my grandparents immigrated from Holland. So that's why a lot of the people who watch this, watch my English lessons from Holland often say I look Dutch. So I have Dutch heritage. That's the answer to that question. Hopefully you find that interesting. So again, if you were to ask someone else about this, or if you were to answer this, if someone asks, hey, where is your family originally from? So in Canada, which is a country of immigrants, almost everyone in Canada, except for our native people, are immigrants. You generally, if you say to someone, hey, where are you from? They'll say, oh, I'm from Hamilton, or I'm from Toronto. But if you say, hey, where is your family originally from? That's asking them, oh, did your grandparents immigrate from Spain? Did your grandparents immigrate from the Bahamas? So that's how you would ask that question. Hey, where is your family originally from? It's a great question, and it's often a topic of conversation. Next question is from Druss. How tall are you? I think we talked about this one last week. I think I'm 5'10" and a little bit in feet and inches, and I think someone last week converted that and said I'm probably 179 centimeters tall. So again, this is a question where it's not a common question that you would ask someone. So if you're having an English conversation and you say to someone, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Toronto. And if you were then to ask, how tall are you? That would seem odd. It's not a question that we ask very often. But anyways, if you have questions, please remember that there is a chat over there. So if you see the chat, look for the link from Todd, and you can use that to ask me a question. By the way, thank you for being here, all of you who are watching. I see some questions in the chat. Let's try to get those questions into the Google Sheet so I can see what you are asking. Next question. Chris says, do you see everything through rose-colored glasses, or are you a pessimist? Oh, so that's the first question. So rose-colored glasses, if you see everything through rose-colored glasses, it means that the cup's always half full. It means that you always look at the positive side of things. And if you are a pessimist, it means you always think the cup is half empty. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but when you have a cup that has this much liquid in it, if you think the cup is half full, you are an optimist. If you think the cup is half empty, you are a pessimist. So I'm generally an optimist. I generally think positive things. I usually wake up in a good mood. Most days I wake up in a good mood. And then the second question there, I have to scroll back. Are you a night owl or an early bird? I am not a night owl. A night owl is someone who likes to stay up late. I do not like to stay up late. I definitely get up early in the morning. So those two questions are great, though. If you are having an English conversation, it's great to say to someone, so hey, are you an optimist or a pessimist usually? Or it's great just to say, in a conversation, you could totally ask someone, hey, are you a night owl? Like, do you stay up late, or are you someone who likes to get up really early in the morning? Totally great conversation topics if you are having a casual conversation with someone. So great questions, Chris, thank you. Irina asks a very deep question here. Irina says, what is your life philosophy? So when I say this is a deep question, what I mean by that is that if you say to someone, hey, do you like coffee? That's a very light question, right? Very easy to answer question. You say yes or no. But if you say, what is your life philosophy? We would call that a deep question. This is a question you would ask with friends or family that you know well. If you're staying up late, having tea, and you're talking about life. You want to know my life philosophy, though? It's very simple. It's be nice to people. I know it sounds simplistic, I'm not very good at it some days. I try really, really hard to be nice to people as much as I can, but I have days where I'm grouchy. Grouchy is when you're like, you're just not in a good mood. I have days when I'm crabby. Even actually 2 days ago, I said to a coworker, I just said, I'm crabby today. I'm in a bad mood. So my life philosophy, be nice to everybody. Be as nice as you can. I just think it is very worthwhile to be nice and to be kind to people. I just have to pull up, I know there were questions in the description of the video. I just need to find them 1 second here. I should have been more prepared this morning, but you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. That's a great phrase, by the way, as well. The next question I'm pulling off of the community tab. It says, oh, this is from, let me scroll down a bit more. Sorry, I'm losing track of what I'm doing. I'm ready now. Here's the next question. Abner says, I would like you to talk about your job and what, if any, other things do you do besides farming and teaching? So this is a great question. This is a great question for you to ask if you are having an English conversation, a little bit of small talk. You just say, hey, what do you do for a living? So in other languages, I know you say, you know, what do you do in life? We don't say it that way in English. We say, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do for a job? Or, hey, what's your day job? Or what do you do? So anyways, I'm a teacher. You can see that. This is my classroom. In about an hour and a half, this will be filled. In an hour, this will be filled with French students, and I will be teaching grade 9 French. Some of you also know that Jen and I run a small flower farm at home. So that's what I do. Let me just scroll back and see the question. And what, if any, other things do you do besides farming? So that's a tough one. Generally through the winter, I have small projects. I have little hobbies that I do on the side. I do like to play a video game sometimes. I usually pick a new one every winter. In the past, I've played Age of Empires, World of Warcraft, League of Legends. I'm not sure if I'll play a video game this winter, but we'll see. But in terms of other things for work, I don't do anything else for work. When I was younger, I was a construction worker in the summers. When I was in university, during the summer, I would work construction. So that's a little bit more about me. And yes, by the way, totally legitimate question to ask someone if you are having a little conversation with them. Zyra says, do you like pets? Do you have pets? So I like pets. I like cats and dogs, but not as much as my wife Jen and my kids do. So I like cats on the farm because they catch mice and they catch rats. And I don't mind animals, but I wouldn't consider myself a pet person. We also have a dog named Oscar. I think he's a great dog. He is allowed in the house a little bit. He's allowed in the front entranceway. My family would love it if he could just live in the house with us, but I'm not that much of a pet person. So again, this is a great question to ask someone. If someone was to say, hey, are you a pet person? That's how we say it in English. Hey, are you a pet person? Do you have a pet at home? And you could answer by saying, you know, oh, I have a dog, or I have 2 dogs, or I have a puppy, a new puppy. Maybe you have a fish in an aquarium, or more than 1 fish, or maybe a bird. So anyways, that's how you would talk about pets. You would just explain the animal you have. It's a great topic because if you can find another dog lover or cat lover, someone who likes the same pet as you, it's easier to have an English conversation with them. So great question, Zyra, great question. The next question is from Demetrio from the Ukraine. Does your mom have a special room where she stores all her jigsaw puzzles when she completes them, or does she put them in frames and hang them on a wall? So in a previous video, I talked about hobbies. I talked about how my mom likes to do jigsaw puzzles. And so that's where Demetrio is asking that question from. No, she does the puzzles. She puts them back in the box, and she usually donates them to what we call a thrift store. A thrift store is a place that sells used items to help raise money for different things. So my mom usually does the puzzle. If I want the puzzle, I can always go to my mom and get a puzzle from her. She has lots of puzzles around. So anyways, that's, okay, go away, fly. I don't mind the fly as long as it doesn't land on me. That's what my mom does with the puzzle. And this is a great question indirectly. It's a good question in the sense that it's good to ask people about their hobbies. So you would ask that by saying, hey, do you have any hobbies? Do you have any cool hobbies? Sometimes we use the word pastime. Like, do you have any, what's your favorite pastime? That's an older word. Generally now we use hobbies, or we say, hey, what do you do for fun? And you could answer by saying, you know, I play tennis, or I like reading, or I like shopping. So what do you like to do for fun is probably the most common way to ask someone that question. Next question from Ellie says, hey, I know you are super busy every day. What do you do in your free time? See you soon. So I read in my free time and I watch YouTube videos in my free time. I think because I like to make YouTube videos, I have a few different YouTubers. That's the word for someone who makes YouTube videos, YouTuber. I have a few YouTubers that I am subscribed to and I like to watch their videos. And I do like to read, and I like to watch British crime drama television shows. Right now I'm watching The Capture, I think it's called, and I'm watching A Confession. Both two brand new British shows, very cool. If you have BritBox, you can watch it. It's an online service. So anyways, that's what I like to do. And I'm busy, but not too busy. I mean, I like to be busy. I don't like to sit around, so that helps a lot. Let's see here. And then Ellie says, this is a second question, no problem. What is the hardest thing about teaching English? I think the hardest thing about teaching any language is when you have to correct other people's sentences. So I find it very enjoyable to talk to you via a live lesson. I find it very enjoyable to make the videos, but I find it difficult, one, to answer all the comments now because there are so many, and then number two, I find it a challenge to, it takes time to correct people's sentences. Sometimes they ask me to correct their sentences, and I don't have a lot of time for that. There's just too many people now. So I would say that's the hardest. Vivian Epstein has the next question. She says, what do you do on the weekends with family or friends? So generally on the weekends right now, Jen and I on Saturdays, we work. Okay, so we have a lot of flowers to cut and process. On Sundays, we crash. I'm not sure if you know what that means, but on Sundays, we try to get a nap in. We try to catch up on sleep. Sometimes on Sundays, we prepare food for the rest of the week. So we will fry up meat and freeze it because we are really busy right now on the flower farm. So we use the weekends to kind of recharge, to regain our energy. So that's what I do on the weekend. I want to stop and just say hi to everyone in the chat. I know there's so many of you there, 434 people watching right now. That's very awesome. If you're new here, don't forget to click that red subscribe button. It's so good to subscribe. I do a new video every Tuesday, live lesson like this every Friday morning, live lesson tomorrow night. If you have questions about English, this is the place, or tomorrow's live stream is the place to ask those. So just a little break there to kind of fill you in. Let's see here, Marco. Okay, this is not, we're gonna skip this one. Katerina says, what makes you happy? My kids make me happy. When my kids are successful, that makes me happy. So when they get a good grade on a test, when they do a really good job, if they are acting in a play, when they play piano at a piano recital, even if they just are really good at a computer game, I'm proud of them, so that makes me happy. It also makes me happy when lots of people watch my YouTube videos. It sounds silly, but that makes me really happy. And then just spending time with my wife, Jen, is probably the biggest one. That makes me really happy. It's fun to get away and do fun things, go on little holidays. We don't do it very often because we are very busy people. I think when you have 5 children, you tend to be quite busy. You tend to work a lot because you need money to feed them. You tend to work a lot because you need money to support their hobbies as well, and all those things. So that's the answer to that question. It's a great question, though. It's a little bit of a deeper question. If you were having a conversation with someone who you just met, I'm not sure I would ask them what makes you happy. It's a very personal question, right? Or what makes you sad? That was the second part of the question. Generally, you would be asking questions that are a little lighter, like the question like, hey, what do you do for fun? Or where are you from? If you meet someone somewhere, like at a work meeting or something like that, you can ask questions like, where are you from? Do you have kids? That's a fair question to ask. So, and the second part, what makes me sad? I think the same thing that makes everyone else sad in life, and that would be loss. When you lose someone, and I don't want to talk about that too much, but yeah, that's what makes me sad in life. Let's go to the next question. Let's see here. This is not really, Fatma says, I need to learn English. My language isn't very good, but I don't have money to take courses. Can you help me? So all I can do is I can make videos and try to answer your questions, Fatma. I'll try to do that as best as I can. But you live in a great time to learn English. So look for every resource you can find. Finish Duolingo to the end if you can get that app. Watch lots of YouTube videos to help with English. Rakhan, next question. Rakan Rashid says, what's your favorite job? So I'll be honest, when I was younger and I was a construction worker, I really enjoyed building things. What I didn't enjoy was building things in the winter. So there's a good chance I might have become a construction worker if there was no winter in Canada. I liked cutting wood and building walls and building houses. It was super fun. And when you were done, there was this building that you helped build, and I really, really enjoyed that. So there's a good chance that I would have been a construction worker if there was no winter. When it's minus 20 Celsius and you're trying to hammer in nails and your fingers are freezing, you quickly learn that it's not something that's enjoyable for you. Okay, let me find another question here. Let's see here. Next question is going to be from Just 1 Minute. Let me copy this one and paste it. Just 1 Minute says, hi Bob, what's your idea of a perfect day and what's the best part about living in Canada? So the best part about living in Canada is that healthcare does not cost money. I mean, we pay for it in our taxes, but healthcare doesn't cost money. If you want to have a baby in Canada, there's no charge to go to the hospital. If you need heart surgery, you don't get a bill and have to pay money at the end. And a perfect day for me is a day where I have nothing to do that day, and hopefully I can go somewhere with Jen or with Jen and the kids. That would be a perfect day for me. So Saturdays are often a perfect day for me where I don't have anything on my schedule for the day. And that's a great question, by the way. If you're in a language learning group and you're looking for questions to ask people, that's a great question. Hey, what's your perfect day? Describe your perfect day. It's great. You should all answer that question. You should write out an answer on paper because it helps you talk about yourself when you ask someone that question. So great question. I love it. Let's see here. This is from Caro. Hi, Caro. I taught someone named Caro once a while ago. Hi, Bob. What is your favorite typical Canadian dish? So pizza is not a typical it's not originally a Canadian dish, but pizza is my favorite food, 100%. I like pizza. I just had pizza last night. It was really, really good. I love pizza. So there are other typical Canadian dishes like back bacon on a bun. Some people in the world call it Canadian bacon or poutine. I like those as well, but pizza is my number one favorite food. So, and that's a great question. You should always be able to answer that question if you are if you are having an English practice conversation or a real English conversation. What is your favorite food? Great question. You should be ready to say, my favorite food is rice and beans. My favorite food is cheeseburgers. My favorite food. Always be ready to talk about food when you are getting ready to talk about English. So let's see here. Yeah, Sean in the chat says, you and I would get along well. Pizza, yes. Pizza's just good. Thanks to the Italians for inventing pizza. I think they invented pizza. That was a great job. Let's see here. Ellen says, how did you overcome the fear of teaching in front of many students when you became a teacher? So I have never really had a fear of talking in front of people as long as I'm completely prepared to talk in front of people. So when I have to talk in front of a class or in a live stream or in a video, I do a lot of work to get ready, and that makes me calm. So I'm not saying that I'm not nervous to talk in front of people, but I prepare as best I can so that I'm not nervous. So that really helps. And then how long did it take me to become fluent in French? So I am still working on my French, and I took French from grade 1 to grade 12. So I had French like 30 minutes per week for 12 years. So that gave me a really good knowledge of French vocabulary and a little bit of grammar. But I really didn't become fluent till I lived in Quebec City for about 9 or 10 months. So you really need that. When you get the experience of living in a different language, that really helps you become fluent for sure. Let's see here. Next question. Remember, guys, if you have questions, okay, there's the fly again. If you have questions, please use the message in chat. Please don't spam the chat with a question over and over again. That just doesn't help any of us. So Henry from Taiwan. Oh, this is a great question. Henry from Taiwan says, in a business meeting, how do I introduce myself briefly to impress the participants in the very beginning? Thank you so much. That's a difficult one because it depends on who's in the meeting. If they're people that you know a little bit, you can share more about yourself. You don't want to brag. Like, you don't want to say, hi, I'm Henry from Taiwan, and I built $8 million businesses in 10 years. And I am the richest man in the world, and I've come to make a deal with you. You're better off, here's my advice. Introduce yourself in a humble way, but always ask other people about themselves. So the key, I think, to winning people over is not always, like, you should talk about yourself. Like, hi, I'm Henry from Taiwan. I started a business 12 years ago with my partners. And we now sell automotive parts around the world. Our sales are now in the millions. You can brag a bit, but the real key to impressing people is to ask them about their lives. So if you have a meeting and you introduce yourself, as soon as there's a coffee break or a time to talk, you need to engage with other people and ask them about their lives. That's the best way to do it. I think that's universal around the world. Roman from Russia. Yeah, this is a new thing in the world, Roman. I have a question, Bob. Why do you say give me a thumbs up? Because thumbs is plural and it doesn't mean one. So this is just a weird thing on the internet. So I'm putting a thumb up. I'm putting 2 thumbs up. But on the internet, there's a single thumb. But in English, we say give me a thumbs up. We don't say give me a thumb up. We should say give me a thumb up, but we don't. We say, give me a thumbs up. And it's technically, grammatically incorrect, but we're probably gonna keep saying it. Let me clean up my questions here, folks. I got quite a few. Get rid of those. Okay, let's see here. This is from Simon. Can you share some good, attractive? Oh, this is a good one. Hi, Bob. Can you share with me some good adjectives to talk about a person's personality in an interview? So if you're talking, let's just talk about ourselves, okay? If I was to describe myself, I would say that I'm kind. Would I describe myself to someone else that way though? Probably not, because it sounds arrogant if you say that you're kind. You would usually say, I try to be kind. But okay, so if we're describing someone else, here's some good ones. I would say, I know him really well. He's hardworking. He's always on time. His work is done really well. So you would praise the aspects of the person if it was for work. Praise the aspects of the person related to work. You would say, I know these aren't adjectives, I'm using phrases to describe someone, but you know, he's a kind person, he's always on time, he does great work, he's fun to work with, or he's a great person to work with. Those are all ways to describe someone. So don't want to spend too much time on that one. Ellen has the next question, which is related, by the way. In your opinion, what things should I have to tell to appeal to employers? So the same things. You want to make sure they know that you are someone who will be on time. In North America, it is important to show up. It is important to be on time and to be a timely person. I know around the world, different countries approach timeliness in a different way. And some cultures and countries are a little more relaxed. In North America, we are not relaxed about time when it comes to work. If you have a job, you need to be on time. If you take a break at work and it is 10 minutes long, you only take 10 minutes. If you have something else to do that day instead of work, you still go to work. So I think we have a very strict view of time when it comes to your job. So often employers are looking for people who are on time, who don't take a lot of days off for no reason. People who show up every day a little bit early for work. So we have a saying in English, for work, 5 minutes early is on time. So anyways, so here we go. Let's go to the next question. I see questions in the chat. Again, please post the questions via the form. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling through. Let's see, I'm having trouble finding the next question. Some of the questions are about English, and I'm going to save those for tomorrow night. You can ask them there. So Gabo says, hello Bob, thanks for your effort and time to help us. If it's okay to ask, where are your roots? Or where is your family originally from? That's the best way to ask that. So again, my family is originally from Holland. I, though, was born in Canada. I was born very close to where I live. I was born in a town that's close to currently where I live, and I am a Canadian citizen. My parents came from Holland as well as children, so they immigrated. So I'm not sure who's yelling. I asked a question 10 minutes before, but still my question is not coming. You just need to be patient, okay? There are a lot of questions in the list, and I go through them in order. And there's a possibility that I just might not get to them. There's actually a good chance I will not, because I have 72 more questions and we only have 10 minutes to go. So I know for some of you, you get a little impatient because I don't get to your question fast, but I am just doing this as quickly as I can, and I'm just trying to get through them as I can. I see some of you repeatedly posting questions in the chat. Please, you just need to be patient. You just need to enjoy this lesson for what it is, and I'll try my best. It's all I can do. I appreciate all of you here, but please just ask via the form. There's a chance I won't get to it. Maybe I'll get to it next time, but I do feel bad about that. The live chats were a little easier when there were fewer people. So anyways, let me find where I was. I think I lost my spot there. What would help as well when people ask questions is if make sure we stay on topic, and then it's a little quicker for me to find the next one. So here we go. Ellen asks, because I mentioned this earlier, let's see here. It says, Ellen says, touchy questions. Is this the same as a sensitive question? Yes. So I think earlier I said, you know, some people are touchy about certain questions. Touchy means that you are sensitive about it. So one question that people sometimes are touchy about is if you ask someone if they are expecting a baby. That's a very delicate, touchy, private question to ask someone. So you want to be a little bit careful. Let's see here. So anyways, let's go down here. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys know that, but when you type in all caps in chat, that's in English, that's yelling. So it's like, whoa, just calm down a little bit. We'll get to everybody as we can. So Christian's question is, let's see, what do you believe to be more difficult to learn? What do you believe is the most difficult thing about learning another language? I think the most difficult thing is finding a person to speak English to, or sorry, whatever language you're learning. That's the most difficult thing. So let's see here. Ghislaine has the question, and this is a great question again. I'm Brazilian, but I speak Dutch because my partner is Dutch. Very cool, and we live in Spain. My question is, do you have any hobbies? So yes, I like to read. I like to play video games. I like to take naps. I'm not sure that's a hobby, but I definitely like that. And again, this is a great question for you to think about. When you have an English conversation, you should be ready to talk about your hobbies. Talk about, do you play a sport? Do you read books? Do you like watching movies? Think of all the things you like and be ready to talk about that. So let's see here. Next one. Luke's question is, hi Bob, I have a quick question. Can you tell us why did you start YouTube? So I started YouTube because I wanted to learn how to make videos, and I wanted to learn how to do YouTube because I teach a computer class at the school where I teach at. And I chose to teach English because it's my native language. And I made a couple videos, and then I was surprised that people watched them. I didn't expect people to watch my first couple videos, so I kept making videos. So it's become my hobby, I guess you would say. So I started it because I like learning new things. It's always good to learn new things. And it just kind of kept going from there. Lolly says, do you want your children to take over your farm? So this is a common question when people own a business or when they own something like a farm. People want to know, are any of your kids interested in taking over the business? Are any of your kids interested in taking over the farm? When you take over something from your parents, it means that you start working for them and eventually you own that business. So Lolly's question is, are any of my kids going to take over the flower farm? And I don't know yet. We have to wait and see. Jen and I talk about this once in a while, and we always say, you know, as our kids get older, they are always welcome to take over the farm someday or become involved in the family business. But if they don't want to, that's fine as well. So if they go to university, that's great. Let's see here. Next question. Let's see. A lot of grammar questions in the chat, and we're trying to talk about ourselves today. So it says, Lynn says, how do you commute? Great question. So we would normally say, how do you get to work? That would be the right way to ask that question. Like, hey, Bob, how do you get to work every day? So I drive right now. So I drive because there's no bus, there's no train, there's no subway. I live too far away to bike to work. Okay, that's not true. I could bike to work, but I don't. So I drive every day to work. And I don't carpool because I don't live close to anyone else. So just let me check that for a sec. So Sean, you're saying the video is pixelated. It looks fine on my reverse feed. So hopefully it fixes itself. So that's the question. We do sometimes say, like, do you commute? So sometimes people live close enough to work that they can walk. If you walk to work, we generally don't call it commuting. But usually we just say, hey, how do you get to work? That's the simplest way to ask that. Let's see here. Just going to mention a couple things. One is thanks for watching this. I can't believe, I don't like to look at the number of people who are watching. So we're at 520. That's great. I just thanks for watching. I hope your English is improving as you watch this. But again, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, and you can give me a thumbs up. It sounds funny when I say it now. If this video is helping you, that would be great. Let me get through a few more questions here. Let's see here. Let's see. Here's a great question. Oh, there's so many grammar questions, guys. It's hard for me to sort through, so I'll try to be a little more clear next time. Andre says, what makes you afraid and what makes you feel embarrassed? So I'm afraid. I don't like snakes. I really don't like snakes at all. And I don't like strange sounds at night, like outside. I don't like that at all. Christian Oliechia has given me a super chat. Thank you so much. I will use that to buy my kids a little bit of pizza tonight. So, and what makes me embarrassed? I'm embarrassed if I don't do a good job on something and someone sees it. So I really like to do things well. When I make something, or when I teach, or when I work or teach in my classroom, when I make lessons, if I make a lesson that I don't think is very good, I'm embarrassed that I didn't do a better job. So I like to make sure that I do a good job on everything. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure I thank Christian here. Thanks so much. There we go. That's very nice of you. Do I ever see snakes on my farm? Yes, sometimes. We do not have poisonous snakes where I live. We have one kind of snake, and it's only this big, and I don't like them. So Betty has a next question. Betty says, are you a bookworm? So a bookworm is someone who likes to read, and then says, how much do you read in a month? So I generally read one book per week. Through the fall, winter, spring, I read one book per week. In the summer, I read a little bit less. So I'm definitely a bookworm, yes, for sure. And I always have been. As some of you know, I like to read science fiction and fantasy books. So this is another great question. When you're talking to someone, it's great to just say, hey, do you love to read? Hey, are you a reader? That's another way to say it. Or bookworm is a totally familiar word, but we don't use it as much as we used to in English. Yes, I am definitely a bookworm. And great question to ask someone, ask them about their hobbies. So Narita has the next question and says, how do you ask someone about their educational qualifications? So in Canada, when you apply for a job, you need to submit a resume, what some of you call a CV in your language. And you need to state your educational qualifications on that in order to apply for a job. So we don't often need to ask someone what their educational qualifications are. When a teacher applies to our school, they need to submit a resume or a CV with all of their qualifications on it. So we don't often have situations, but if you are talking to a friend, if they say, hey, I'm applying for a teaching job, you would simply say, oh, are you qualified? Are you qualified for the job? I'll put that in the chat. Are you qualified? And that means basically, do you have the certification or the diploma or the requirements for that job? So often people will say, we need someone to operate a forklift. You need to have your forklift operator's ticket. You need to be qualified for that job, which means that you have everything in place that you need to do the job. Let's jump down here. I am going to mention too that although there are subtitles during the live lesson, you should come back and watch a little bit of this lesson tomorrow with the subtitles on. I know some of you watch the whole thing the next day again, or you simply play it in the background. But if there were parts of this lesson that you didn't understand, definitely come back tomorrow and turn the subtitles on. And if you use a computer, you can actually view the subtitles. So you can actually copy and paste and translate some of them. But do come back tomorrow and watch this video again. And that being said, I am going to wrap it up. I do apologize that I didn't get to all the questions. I will say though, a lot of the questions that are left are not on topic, so let's try next time to keep them on topic. But I'm going to wrap this up, everybody. Thank you so much for coming for this little 45-minute English lesson. Don't forget to watch a little bit tomorrow with the subtitles on. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here and give me a thumbs up. I'm Bob the Canadian. There will be a live lesson tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there will be a new video on Tuesday. If you didn't watch last week's video, you should go watch it if you have time right now. I think it was a good video. I really liked it. So let me find a link for you there on that video. If you have a moment right now, you should go and watch this video on contractions. I think a lot of you already watched it, but you could go have a view right now. And let me just check one other thing. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a good week ahead of you learning a little bit more English. Don't forget to read. Don't forget to listen to some English. Don't forget to write some English. And don't forget to speak English with someone and learn some more vocabulary. You guys are awesome. Me and the fly and I say goodbye. Have a really good day. And thanks again.